the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like with the cat with the laser pointer, it's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. It's a beautiful Tuesday down here in South Florida. Joined this morning by the one and only ghost of Pace, Patrick Henry. Gordon, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic, CannCon. How are you this morning?
Living my best life. You guys staying warm up there?
Yeah. It's been a little chilly, but finally it's a beautiful day. Like every weekend it just like rains, you know? So it's like nice during the week, and then the weekend gets there and then it's just like it rains. And you know, when it's 32 degrees and raining, it just kind of sucks.
I figured you guys would be pretty cold up there because we're at 61 right now, but last night it was in the mid 40s down here. So
yeah, it's been like in the 30s here, which is, you know, for this time of year is normal, but
okay.
It is what it is.
Okay, we don't have that luxury. We saw 30s once in the last, I don't know, probably 10 years. So, and that was 3 days ago. We saw 39 and it was cold. It was brutal. Not used to that in Florida.
Brutal.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Lots going on today. We'll, of course, get to the geopolitical segment. We got Davos kicking off, and we'll get into that a little bit here. But before we do that, you know, my man Gordon over here has got a little 5 o'clock shadow rocking over there, and we might have to get him some of that beard oil. I am a kung fu master. Hoo-yah! Why do you not respect me? You want to fight me? I will fight you to your death. Hoo-yah! Do you want to tame the mane that is your ugly beard? Do you want your beard to feel silky smooth? You want to make it illustrious like my kung fu beard? Then you need soft disclosure, beard oil. Softdisclosure.com. Promo code Badlands.
A soft disclosure on your beard. Many lady come to you.
Oh, Alpha. What are we going to do with that guy?
Dude, I missed Only Lands on Friday, obviously, and had no idea that had happened. And then I, like, in the Badlands private chat, y'all shared that clip, like the ad before it got played for the first time. Dying laughing. Hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious. You should have seen it live. It was even funnier. Like the dragon thing that he does there, that was not in reference to a beard. We'll just leave it at that. I think it was something like it'll make your dragon grow or something like that. I don't know. He gotta love that guy. Yeah, softdisclosure.com, promo code Badlands. And
Badlands Media.
promo code Badlands. Support at least five American-made businesses, including Badlands Media and all the content creators here, as well as Annie over at Willow Winds Farm. And yeah, great product, man. Absolutely love it. It's keeping my beard nice and tamed. So, all right. So last night we had the national championship down here in Miami, and unfortunately, my Miami Hurricanes lost 27-21 in a heartbreaking game. It was a great game. I mean, I know I wanted the Hurricanes to win, but dude, it was a really, really good game.
Dude, you're a Canes fan and you're not a Gators fan.
I'm a diehard Gators fan, but I root for every local team down here. And out of all the local teams I root for, besides the Panthers are my only team in hockey. But besides them, the Hurricanes are my biggest team that I root for down here. I've had season tickets up until my brother was playing, because when my brother was playing, I was going to his games, so couldn't go to any Hurricanes games. But yeah, I'm a big Hurricanes fan, diehard Gator fan though. So,
I mean, the roster they had 20 years ago was insane.
Oh,
man, like legendary. Yeah,
the Ed Reed and the Willis McGahee,
Greg Olson, just like, I mean, all of the, like, it's hard to believe that many guys were at the same school together at the same time.
That was a team that was right there with the 06 to 08 Gators. You know, they had a great team too, with Spikes and Tebow and Percy Harvin and
Hernandez. Back before he was a psycho killer. Yeah.
Well, he probably was a psycho killer back then too, but
yeah. Before we knew he was a psycho killer. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So some highlights from the game. We're not going to play any game highlights, but President Trump was there, and the White House put out this message right before the game.
We got one more 4-quarter battle to decide a national champion.
Indiana, Miami.
The Hoosiers versus the Hurricanes.
This is the biggest game of everyone's life.
Indiana has seen the best. They have beaten the best.
But Miami is not afraid of Indiana.
I think this is going to be one of the best national championship games that we've seen in a long time.
President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio are set to attend the College Football Playoff Championship in Miami.
This will be the third time the president has attended the championship game.
This is going to be South Beach at its finest.
Pretty awesome. See that. Now, here was the coolest part. We had a moment, during the national anthem where they showed President Trump up there. Listen to the crowd. I love it. All right. So, yeah, that was pretty cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, a traditional basketball school taking a football national title for the first time. I mean,
Yeah, it was very cool to watch that. Indiana, there were a couple. So we watched it at the family. We watched it at a bar down here, Twin Peaks, I think it was. And we had, I don't know, 10, 12 people with us. And when Trump showed up, we were like, I stand for the pledge, even like in a bar, and so I was standing up, and when they showed Trump, like everybody in the bar started cheering. And I'm in Broward County, Florida. It's bleeding heart liberal blue down here, allegedly, and everybody was cheering. And I would say that the bar, like the patrons, probably made up, I don't know, 50% or more Black and Hispanic, because it's South Florida. We've got a very diverse culture down here, and everybody was cheering, like going nuts. The table next to us was a bunch of, we were talking to them, they're a bunch of Hurricane fans, Black guys. And they started doing the USA chant, and I was like, no, it's the national anthem, bro. Don't break out in the USA chant. But afterwards, we got that going, and it was a lot of fun, man. I saw a lot of respect for the president there, and the Hurricanes did better than I was expecting, but not good enough. So
it's interesting. I'll save it for the geopolitical segment, but yeah, there's a lot of populist leftists who are who are saying, basically have adopted the same position that the populist right have adopted. So that's signs of horseshoe theory coming to fruition, where the earnest left and the earnest right, traditional right and left, see things for what they are and understand that there's a common enemy and that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I think we might see it a little bit more after this World Economic Forum meeting in Davos. So let's kind of get into that direction here. We'll start out with this article from RT. Getting Greenland would be huge historical achievement for Trump. says a political consultant, political risk consultant and lawyer Adriel Casonta told RT that, quote, it will be a huge win for Donald Trump because many presidents before saw the strategic importance of Greenland and they wanted to acquire Greenland, but without any successful result. If Trump were to acquire the Arctic island, quote, he would succeed in securing the security of Northern America where other presidents in the past have failed. It is the only key territory the U.S. needs for securing, quote unquote, the Western Hemisphere in its sphere of influence, Casonta said. It gives the primacy also in securing the supply chains of rare earth minerals that are currently being dominated by China, as Greenland has a wealth of lithium and cobalt. And I looked up the Casonta guy, and he is London based, but he is like the Moscow guy there. I guess it's not clear if he works out of Moscow. It says he's the Russian International Affairs Coordinator, and it says in Moscow, but it also says he's London based, so I'm not sure. But either way, pretty cool to get, you know, some accolades from London on Trump's efforts here, which kind of leads me to this post that President Trump put out on Truth Social this morning at 1:38. Dude's like a rock star, man. Gets out of the national championship game, right back to work, probably flying over to Switzerland. He says, shockingly, our quote unquote brilliant NATO ally, I love that, the United Kingdom is currently planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, the site of a vital U.S. military base, to Mauritius. I think that's how you say Mauritius. And to do so for no reason whatsoever. There is no doubt that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness. These are international powers who only recognize strength, which is why the United States of America under my leadership is now, after only 1 year, respected like never before. The UK giving away extremely important land is an act of great stupidity and is another in a long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Denmark and its European allies have to do the right thing. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, Diego Garcia is a very important island military base in the Indian Ocean. It's also very secretive. There's no public allowed on the island whatsoever. There's been, you know, accusations and allegations and some confirmations about CIA rendition sites in Diego Garcia. I know Ashton Forbes has the theory with MH370 that the people were transported to Diego Garcia when they vanished out of thin air with the 3 flying orbs. There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on around there. When I say shady, I mean classified, who knows, weapons technology and stuff like that. The British also share part of that island with us. It's got a 12,000 foot long runway, like for B1s, B2s, B52s for our big bombers. And it was used during OIF to bomb Afghanistan with those planes. So kind of interesting that Britain's giving it away, and we'll see if that actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, well, there's an interesting dynamic here, and Trump, I think, is he's doing his character thing, which I think is brilliant. I said on Sunday night on the narrative that, and I've said this for a long time, that he's both Batman and the Joker. Like, he plays both roles. And a lot that really feeds into the idea that he's creating his own dialectics. He's creating his own little false paradigms that the deep state has used to control the public narrative for generations. And now he's creating his own within them. This one represents, in my opinion, the British Empire, the collapse of the British Empire. And he is lamenting it. Like, he's sitting there saying, oh, what a terrible thing. They're giving away land that, you know, they've long held. This is a terrible thing, while he is flexing and basically he's imposing like an imperialistic might makes right behavior, worldview, whatever, that is being completely mirrored by Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin is expressing in very clear terms, this is the law. This is actual international law, is might makes right. The strong do what the strong want, and the weak suffer the will of the strong. Delcy Rodriguez said the exact same thing. It's the law of the jungle. So it's like all of Trump's surrogates and friends, who don't always appear to be his friends, like Putin, are basically mirroring his messaging. And when you're ready, we should talk about Macron, and I have some clips of Trump talking about that when he got on the plane in Miami last night.
Yeah, we'll get into that in the next story. Let's give a little kickoff here to Davos from DW. Donald Trump set to dominate Davos 2026. The event is taking place at a time. This is total freak out right here, by the way. The event is taking place at a time that U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking to dismantle the international order. Hell yeah. From upending established trade rules and mass withdrawal from international organizations to including the UN Climate Treaty, to capturing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro following an attack on the capital Caracas, and threatening to annex Greenland from close ally Denmark. Denmark's a close ally. I mean, they're NATO, but okay. Just days. I didn't see any Danish over there when I was in Afghanistan. I saw a lot of Brits, saw a lot of Jordanians, saw a lot of Aussies. Did not see a whole bunch of Danes, but
they haven't been relevant since Beowulf, bro.
Is that double toil and trouble, Beowulf? The witches? I think that's the witches, right? The witches brew.
The witch's brew. I'm not sure.
Beowulf, double toil and trouble.
The Beowulf story is like
I know Beowulf,
the mother and the monster son. Yeah,
but I thought the witches were the ones that I don't know.
Yeah.
Just days before the start of the World Economic Forum, Trump threatened to impose tariffs on 8 NATO allies, including Germany, France, and the UK, if they don't support his quest to take control of the Arctic island, eliciting a forceful rebuke from the European allies. Trump's assault on the international rules that have largely been in place since World War II and its impact on the global peace, politics, and economy is expected to be among the key topics under the theme, a spirit of dialogue. Jump down here a little bit. I thought this was pretty cool. The strong U.S. presence will be complemented by the first ever USA House, a venue housed in a small church on the town's main promenade street, where U.S. officials will host events and network with investors. And got a nice little church there just for the United States. Love it. This will mark the first meeting without the founder, Klaus Schwab, at the helm. Schwab has been succeeded by interim co-chairs Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, and Andre Hoffman, vice chair of Swiss pharmaceuticals company Roche Holdings. And that leads me into, I got some more stories as well, but we'll get into this Macron thing. So President Trump truthed this out. Note from President Macron of France. Now, I don't know if this is like satire or real, but he doesn't suggest it's satire. So apparently, Macron texted Trump this and said, my friend, we are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do not understand what you were doing on Greenland. Let us try to build great things. 1, I can set up a G7 meeting in Davos on Thursday. After Davos in Paris on Thursday, I can invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, and the Russians in the margins. 2, let us have dinner together in Paris together on Thursday before you go back to the U.S. Emmanuel. It's kind of interesting that he wants to invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, and the Russians. That's an eclectic group right there. Like everybody that's got beef with Trump, except maybe the Russians, he wants to have in the same room.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that Trump has basically disparaged over the past year the G7 and just said, the G7 doesn't really matter anymore. It used to be the G8 until Hillary Clinton kicked out, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton kicked out Russia after the Ukraine war started. So now that it's not the G8 anymore, Trump's just like, no one really cares about the G7. Remember in June, Mark Carney hosted it in Canada, and Trump skipped a bunch of the meetings and then left a day early. And he was kind of like, I don't really care about G7. And then MBS was invited in 2024 and MBS skipped it. He was like, no one really cares about the G7. So it used to be a big thing. Like the G7 summit used to be this big confab where people got together and the elites kind of planned, the direction of the world. If you want to share my screen real quick, I'll show you something funny that Trump said about Macron. But before I do, this post that he put out, or this narrative that he put out, was laugh out loud funny. And this went viral yesterday. I don't know how well this is showing up. Let me see if I can open a new tab.
Yeah, open a new tab. Okay. By the way, it's Macbeth. That's the double toil and trouble, not Beowulf. It's been a long time since I read my.
Yeah, I saw people in the chat saying it's Macbeth. Okay, so Norway came out and was flexing on Trump about Greenland and saying, what are you doing? Like, this is outrageous. You can't do this to our brother country, Denmark. And Trump's response to it was this letter. He says, Dear Jonas, Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we have had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. That's laugh out loud funny because, I mean, like the line where he says, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace because you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize. That is driving the enemy insane because they're like, Trump is exactly what we thought he was. He's a narcissist. He's a tyrant. He's he's a loose cannon. He's obviously feeding into that and baiting them into act. I mean, this is Trumpomania. This is absolute Hulkamania behavior. I even threw this image in the news brief after that. I mean, because that's the image I think of when I read that. I think of Trump being like, I no longer feel the obligation to think purely of peace since you not recognize my peaceful ways. Okay, and then we get
well, hold on, just real quick, one thing in regards to that letter, and this is a great point that President Trump made right there. We played Scott Bessent yesterday, Secretary Bessent, saying that we've paid more than $22 trillion into NATO since its founding. I think we're owed something from that. We haven't gotten any ROI on NATO necessarily, right? We have a huge ocean separating us from any threat that NATO has faced since its inception. And yet we're the greatest contributor by far. Granted, we do have, military bases throughout the EU and throughout Europe, but all those military bases are in service of protecting NATO. So pay up, I was going to say a bad word, but that would be inappropriate right there. But pay up, mofos.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good point. All right, let's watch this clip.
Oh, did he say that? Well, nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. So, that's all right. What I'll do is if they feel like Costo, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that, but as you know, he's going to be out of office in a few months.
Did you invite President Putin to join the...
Yes, he's one of the people. These are world leaders, and the answer is yes.
Yeah. So for those who couldn't hear that, they asked him. They said, "What do you think about Macron saying he's not gonna back you on Greenland?" And Trump was like, "Oh, did he actually say that? I actually don't think he said that. He's giving him the opportunity because Macron's a little bitch. Like he's like a passive aggressive beta male who runs around the world and basically talks out of both sides of his mouth, depending on who he's speaking with. He doesn't assert or project confidence or anything like that, right? He doesn't even project sovereignty, in my opinion, like sovereign thinking. He's clearly a puppet. And so Trump's like, I actually don't think that's what he said. He's giving Macron the chance to grovel at his feet and be like, no, sir, I didn't say that, I swear. But he said, but if you did say that, I'm going to throw a 200% tariff on wines and champagnes, which is something Trump has threatened many times before, and Macron always capitulates. He's like, I know this old song and dance. This is an easy song and dance. I'm just going to threaten to, tariff their champagnes and wines, and Emmanuel will come in, grovel at my feet. It's really that simple. Again, Trumpomania, hilarious. I love it. And then that was before, I guess, he put out that post about the text message. He probably went and then confirmed that this is actually how Macron is thinking. And then what's hilarious is Macron has already spoken at Davos, the World Economic Forum, which began today. This is what he looks like right now. He got up and gave a full speech with aviators on.
Make it full screen. Make it full screen.
Yeah.
Are those like blue reflective? Oh yeah.
Yes, they're like blue. It's like blue lens aviators. But even before that, this is the pinned post on his X account right now. He put it up 7 hours ago.
I wonder if somebody kicked his ass and he's got a black eye that he's trying to cover up.
That's what a lot of people are speculating, but I kind of think this is, I don't know. He's trying to be cool. Like, this guy's just such a loser. Like, this is a low T beta male move. And he says, a demanding and respectful spirit of dialogue led to the emergence of the Elysee Orignon agreement, opening a clear path for the future institutional status of New Caledonia. Look at, he's wearing the aviators in this picture. Like this, it is possible he might take off those glasses and might have a black eye. And that would be really interesting if that is the case. But yeah, like he's literally wearing these aviators around like a jackass in the middle of the day inside at this very serious like international confab where the elites gather to plot controlling the world. But let's go back to this clip and listen to this clip.
C'est vrai que nous arrivons à un point d'instabilité sans précédent, que ce soit au niveau de la sécurité.
Is it only in French?
Yeah, they must have overdubbed it. Well, hold on one second. That's a little disappointing. Here it is.
Welcome. But what we need is more. China is welcome. But what we need is more Chinese foreign direct investment in Europe in some key sectors to contribute to our growth, to transfer some technologies, and not just to export towards Europe some devices or products which sometimes don't have the same standards or are much more subsidized as the one being produced in Europe.
Okay, so that clip's about Chinese investment. The other clip is about that's making the rounds is about the might makes right, and where he says, I suggest we do not accept what America wants. America wants this law of the strong, where only the strong control the world. He's like, we cannot accept that, which is, of course, exactly how the world has operated forever. It's just, empire, the strongest empire makes the rules, and everybody else gets in line. The French Empire, by the way, had their day for a century. So this is hilarious. The rhetoric. I'm glad that I unwittingly played that one clip because he is parroting what Mark Carney put out the other day. Mark Carney went to China, signed a deal with Xi. He's talking about how he wants to develop a strong partnership with China, and that China, basically Canada and the other people who view Trump as hostile now, like Europe, they need to get behind China now, and China needs to be their basically strong man that they're going to back instead of the United States. Move away from the United States. I think they're doing this in earnest. I think Macron is clearly clearly a regime shill that Trump just loves to play with and toy with. Carney, I think, is absolutely the central banker king.
Oh yeah.
And when he gave you may have played the clip yesterday with Zach of him basically saying if Trump moves on Greenland, Canada will go to war with the United States.
Yeah.
That's Macron is lining up behind Carney here. That's what he's doing. And Trump is basically toying with them. He said in that other clip, Macron's going to be gone in a few months. Who cares about him? But until he's gone, I'm going to toy with him and I'm going to make him act like a jackass. And I mean, for all we know, these aviators are on his face right now because Trump was, because Trump kind of emasculated him last night.
All right. Oops, I was pulling it down.
Yeah, there you
go. Good. Do you have any more on Macron? Because I've got more.
The only thing I would add about Macron is just that he is not so far as I understand it, he's the only person who has rejected Trump's invitation to join the Board of Peace. We'll get to the Board of Peace.
We'll get
in a minute. But he's the only one, which I think is signal that he is the regime puppet.
All right. So I thought this was fascinating. Daily Mail put this out. It's confirmed by the World Economic Forum. Danish officials snubbed Davos gathering of global leaders as fallout over Trump's Greenland land grab rages on. In a statement to Bloomberg, the forum said, quote, "We can confirm that the Danish government will not be represented in Davos this week. Danish government representatives were invited this year, and any decisions on attendance are a matter for the government concerned." So they're going to no-show after President Trump tough talked them into whatever. One of the other things I thought was interesting down here, Daily Mail is reporting that Zelensky will appear in person, hoping to meet Trump and sign new security guarantees for a potential ceasefire. The U.S. delegation will also hold meetings with Russia's special envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, according to Reuters. And then this is the most interesting to me. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, was set to speak on Tuesday afternoon at Davos. However, the forum confirmed that he will not be attending, saying, quote, "Although he was invited last fall, the tragic loss of lives of civilians in Iran over the past few weeks means that it is not right for the Iranian government to be represented at Davos this year.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Well, and again, like, if you're of the view that this is game theory, that we are actually at war with an enemy right now, this isn't just like patriots controlling everybody and just putting on like a puppet theater for our entertainment. This is actually like moves and counter moves, which is what I think. Iran being kept out of the World Economic Forum is signal, because everyone who wants to think that the Iranian government is like being controlled by the deep state and they're a deep state proxy, which I think they probably were. But that changed at some point. I don't know exactly when, but it changed at some point. This is signal that that's not the case, because if they were a deep state proxy, then why would they be, even if they are a deep state proxy, maybe they are, let's just say for the sake of argument they are, the optics here, like, it's putting them in opposition to the World Economic Forum. Everybody understands the World Economic Forum are the bad guys, right? And now Iran is being kept out. So at the very least, you could say that in that binary, they're on the side of the sovereign alliance, outside looking in on the World Economic Forum.
Is the enemy of my enemy my friend?
Exactly.
And so you look at that and you wonder, why would Davos want to censor Iranians at such a critical moment when they could have a global platform to express whatever's going on over there in their own words? I was kind of shocked by that. I would have thought that this would be a good time to have them talk and, either let them clear the air on what's going on or dig themselves even deeper in their quote unquote grave. I lean towards the former a little bit more. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Before you pivot out of Greenland, finish your segment. But before you pivot out of Greenland, let me play a video.
The last thing I wanted to do was just a couple trolls here. RT put this out, trolling with a bunch of the globalist leaders crying over this, saying Danish government skipping the World Economic Forum in Davos amid escalations in Greenland feud. And then President Trump truthing this out at 12:58 a.m. And it's him at the Resolute with a picture of the United States of North America. Minus Mexico. We haven't taken them yet, but I'm assuming that this is fake. I don't know.
I think it probably is. It's probably AI, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he's had a meeting with all of the EU leaders and Starmer in the last.
Well, no, this is probably a picture from back in the summer. I think this meeting did actually happen. Was that map in the background? I don't remember. It could have been, because remember, he was talking about Canada becoming the 51st state. But this meeting, I think, did happen where he had all the school children sitting around him, around the principal's desk, and everyone was mocking them for it.
But you can see they've got Greenland, Canada, the U.S., and Venezuela down there, all with the American flag. So, I said that when Carney said that he would, invoke Article 5 if the U.S. attacks somebody, he would support Article 5, treaties. That was a fatal mistake by Carney, like to say that he would get involved in this and protect NATO when they're our closest neighbor. They're the one other country on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. They're our number one trade partner, and we're their number one trade partner. I think that was a bridge too far for him to come out and say that. And that globalist Irish, London, English citizenship holding Canadian is digging a grave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, remember, Canada is part of the British Commonwealth. So Canada is an extension of the British Crown and is basically used as a proxy to extract wealth out of the United States. And I didn't realize like the political dynamics between us and Canada until Matt Ayer explained it to me. But they actually are above us in the globalist hegemony. They extract hundreds of billions of dollars out of the United States every year. And I mean, they act like they're all weak, and the narrative is that they're these weaklings. But from just a pure power projection standpoint, they take our money and like the bully at school.
Oh, come on. Haven't you seen Canadian bacon?
Turkey bacon?
No. John Candy. And was it Dan Aykroyd? Is it Canadian bacon? Born in the USA.
I don't know. I mean, Dan Aykroyd and John Candy have done plenty of movies together, but I don't know specifically which movie you're referring to.
I think it's called Canadian Bacon.
I'm thinking of Uncle Buck when you say that, but I don't know.
Oh, Uncle Buck was a classic, man. Somebody in the chat will correct me, but yeah, they basically take a shit all over Canada in that movie. All right, kind of like Super Troopers Part 2, where we actually annexed a part of Canada, or Canada annexed a part of the United States, and we said, no way, we're going to war. All right, I'll hand it over to you now, man.
Yeah, so it's interesting because the Russian rhetoric now, like the Kremlin, their official position is that they're like, all right, well, technically under international law, Greenland's part of Denmark. We recognize that. However, like Dmitry Peskov said that, who's the Kremlin's like spokesperson, said that that Trump's absolutely right, that if he wants to take Greenland, that Russia thinks that's fantastic and he should move forward with that. You know, kind of like drawing parallels between Greenland and Ukraine. Like it's in their best interest. They should go ahead and do it. Here's Dmitry Medvedev saying they'll just shit their pants and give up Greenland. That's what he said. He said, just go ahead and do it. They're not going to stop you. Like no one's going to stop you. Like who's going to stop you? No one. No one's going to stop you. Just do it.
Do you think they're also looking at this as a power projection? Like they have to at least act tough toward the United States?
Well, my opinion on what Trump's doing here is he's doing a pincer move against NATO. So like we're getting the narrative about NATO sending troops to Greenland, but they've sent like in total between all these countries, they've sent like 20 guys, like one or two guys from each country is going, like soldiers are going to represent NATO to defend Greenland. It's like Trump is forcing NATO to focus, like to turn its attention west, away from Ukraine and away from Eastern Europe and towards Greenland. Meanwhile, like while Putin's trying to wrap up the Ukrainian situation. So yeah, all the Russian surrogates are egging on Trump because they are encouraging the pincer move. They're like, yeah, go ahead and move on Greenland because this is dividing NATO's attention, right? Then you have the Czech prime minister, Andrej Babis, I think I'm saying his name right. And he's speaking Czech, but I'll summarize what it says here. He says, I bought a globe so I could see exactly where Greenland is. It's hilarious. He says, I bought a globe, right? He says, the Oreshnik missile, which remember, they just deployed the Oreshnik finally in Ukraine. They fired a few Oreshniks and showed the world this brand new hypersonic missile that they have developed. He said the Oreshnik would fly from Russia to the White House in 26 minutes, and in the 11th minute, it would be exactly over Greenland. So Donald Trump's arguments about China and Russia are relevant. That's the Czech prime minister saying that. And Czech has been kind of bicameral in their rhetoric. It's like they've been like supportive of the whole Ukraine war, but they've also kind of been like, yeah, but we're not going to send any troops. Like, yeah, but we're not going to contribute to this continental army that y'all want to build. We don't really want to go to war with Russia. So they've been a little wishy-washy on the narrative on like where they stand in continuing the war with Russia. But here's the guy saying, yeah, I think Trump's actually right. Like if the idea is to defend the United States against Russian aggression, then Greenland is a very strategic and very a logical move.
Yeah. Also, trade routes are opening up through there because of the ice melting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All that climate change is really leading to the development of new trade routes. Yeah. So it's like all the things that are developing around Greenland, like Trump using Greenland as this brilliant sticking point where the globalists are forced to confront the fact that might makes right is bad. Like we shouldn't engage in imperialism, except that's exactly what they do just whenever they want. They just impose themselves on countries, third world countries, all the time and exploit their resources and extract them and do all those things. And it is so funny that we are getting this rhetoric and this narrative with Putin and the Russians siding with Trump. And then Europe driving over, like running over to Xi for help, right? Which is encouraging the creation of the emergence of the multipolar world. If the multipolar world is Putin, Xi, and Trump, then Europe running to China is not necessarily a bad thing because it's encouraging the multipolarity of the world.
Awesome. All right. You want to get into the Gaza? I know you wanted to talk about that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Gaza. Do you want to do Iraq real quick before we get to Gaza? Because that might be relevant.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about Iraq real quick, and then
I was going to save it for tomorrow. If you didn't have it, I didn't I didn't dive into it.
Well, why don't you just introduce what we're talking about? So we're talking about the U.S. leaving Iraq for good.
Yeah, so the full withdrawal from the country's quote unquote federal territory is now complete. This doesn't include there's like an autonomous zone in Kurdistan that we still have some troops remaining, but overall, excuse me, the IDF, not that IDF, the Iraq Defense Ministry, IDM, basically has said we're out completely. Al-Assad is handed over to back to the Iraqis, and we've been there for like 2 decades. So the significance of this, I don't know, other than good. Why were we there still?
Yeah, and remember Alpha, because I had him on the Book of Trump, and he explained this to me. He was the first guy in Iraq.
Yeah.
Like he was there in Iraq the day before the war officially started. He says the war officially started, I think it was March 18th, 2023. He's like, I was there March 17th. So he was literally the first guy in Iraq, among the first guys in Iraq. We've been there. That was 2003. So we've been there for 23 years, and Obama talked about leaving, right? He said he was going to leave, and nothing happened. So the reason that I wanted to talk about it and why it's relevant is because Eric Prince, who is definitely, I mean, his sister is Betsy Davis, right? She was Trump's Secretary of Education. During the first term. Obviously, like with Blackwater, has done a lot of contract work with MBS and the Arabs. And went and met secretly with Jorge Rodriguez, the brother of Delcy Rodriguez, back in November 2019. And even back then, Bloomberg was speculating that Eric Prince was setting up a back channel between Trump and Maduro. So here is Eric Prince on Friday talking about the Venezuela situation, but you drawing comparisons to Iraq and how the private military contracting dynamics should work. Should they need additional security to make sure that like the cartels and stuff don't come in and try to take over the government? Listen to him.
There's been some noise about private security PMCs being hired by the U.S. government to help in Venezuela. I think the best solution there is to let Venezuela hire the private sector. The problem is if the Department of War or the Department of State contracting bureaucracy tries to hire the capacity they need in Venezuela, it will be another Afghanistan or Iraq type debacle, because you will have a brigade of lawyers that deploy and second guess everything. Delcy Rodriguez may not be a saint, but if she's the one that's going to be the interim president, she has to have the apex capability to actually put down, because you're in a pause right now after the effect of removing Maduro. There's cartels, there's the ELN, which is the local FARC variant. There's Iranians, there's Cubans. There's lots of the colectivos, all the neighborhood gangs. They're all kind of laying low somewhat, just like in Baghdad or in Kabul after the fall, back in 2001 and in 2003. But then within 3 or 4 months, total freaking chaos. There needs to be an apex force that is accountable in Venezuela, that is capable, the most capable. And if you don't have that, it is going to be a debacle, and the place will be uninvestable.
So what Eric Prince is saying is that if Venezuela follows the Iraq model, like what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, the bad guys, the strong men who are there, are going to lay low for 3 months, 4 months, wait for things to settle down, wait for the attention to pivot away from Venezuela, right? And then they'll emerge and try to destabilize things and try to take over the government. And so that's why private military contractors might be necessary to come in there and just provide additional security, right? Because they can operate and do things that the military may constitutionally may not be able to do. And the Venezuelan government is following their constitution to the T. That they've made that very clear, including Maduro handing over power to Delcy Rodriguez, continuity of government. And so he's saying that what we've done in the past is that the State Department in these situations would contract with everyone, and they would be running point. They would be controlling remotely the PMCs. But what needs to happen is Delcy Rodriguez, the head of state in Venezuela, she should be the one signing the contract. She should be the one in charge, because that will give her the control and the sovereignty to make decisions on the fly and do what's best for Venezuela rather than DC doing it for them. What's interesting about this deployment is that number one, I think we might see the Wagner group. I mean, how funny would it be to see the Wagner group get contracted to go to Venezuela? But about an hour after he appeared on Bannon's show, maybe like 2 hours, Trump was leaving the White House and he was asked a question. He was asked, you can barely hear the question, but he was asked, why are you supporting Delcy Rodriguez over Maria Corina Machado in Venezuela?
Yep.
Listen to what he says.
We played that yesterday. You could play it again, though. Oh, hold up. You got to pull it up. Start it again. Start it again.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't pulled up. I forgot you don't have dual screens.
The remnants of the Maduro regime and not with Machado, who has the support of the Venezuelan people.
Well, if you ever remember a place called Iraq where everybody was fired, every single person, the police, the generals, everybody was fired, and they ended up being ISIS. Instead of just getting down to business, they ended up being ISIS. So I remember that. But I'll tell you, I had a great meeting yesterday by a person who I have a lot of respect for. And she has respect, obviously, for me and our country. And she gave me her Nobel Prize. But I'll tell you what, I got to know her. I never met her before. And I was very, very impressed. She's this is a fine woman.
Yeah, so pure signal there. Because when you combine those two clips, what Trump is telling you is that the State Department created ISIS.
Yes.
Because Eric Prince tells you, hey, we're the ones who hired all the PMCs. We're the ones who went out there and hired all these local militias to run security in Iraq, and it was a total disaster. And Trump's telling you, yeah, we basically just fired everyone from the government, brought in our own people, contracted ourselves, and then the result was ISIS. And he's not wrong. ISIS was basically just a coalition of all these different splinter cell groups working together under one banner. And not only is he equating Maria Corina Machado with ISIS, like she works for the same people, which is true. Not at the ISIS level, but I'm saying at the State Department level, because ISIS is the CIA and Maria Corina Machado is the CIA. He also said, this is the first time I ever met her. I've never met this woman before. I mean, imagine being a normie, like seeing that and saying, wait a minute, I thought this woman was being championed as like the second coming in Venezuela. Trump's never even met her before. She must not be that important. So a lot of signal there, but the Iraq thing, the fact that now we're announcing just days after that those two things happen, those two little clips happen, we're now saying, yeah, we're leaving Iraq for good. We're gone.
Did you see maybe like a week ago? I think it was either the Wall Street Journal or the Miami Herald, which the Miami Herald is a massive, at least in the past, has had massive CIA influence. I'm sure it still does, given its location in South Florida with huge Latin population down here. They said that Trump was taking the advice of a classified CIA document and leaving Delcy Rodriguez installed, and this would align with what has been said by certain individual that's controversial on X, saying that Delcy is the CIA's pick. But me and Colonel were talking, and Ash, I think it was with Ash. It might have been with Alpha and SitRep. But we were talking about Ratcliffe and why Ratcliffe is so hated in the CIA and hated by the spooks that are, out as CIA. And that's because he didn't rise through the ranks of the CIA and he doesn't have that rot. And so when Trump said that about Iraq, I think that's what he was signaling as well, is that, we're keeping this in place. And yes, it is at the behest of the CIA, but not that CIA. Not the CIA that groomed Hakuna Matata all the way up. So I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But, that clip from President Trump right there. And, oh, by the way,
Hakuna Matata.
We made that for her. It's not quite as good as Una Panuna, but it's still up there.
Yeah. Well, and I had to cancel the Book of Trump last night because I had issues going on with my kids. But I was going to talk about, I was going to do Hugo Chavez part 2 and talk about Delcy Rodriguez. And, her father was tortured and killed by the CIA. So she is no fan of the CIA. The allegation that she's, part of like the deep state. I think she represents one of these figures that has a chip on her shoulder. Like MBS has a chip on his shoulder over 9/11 because his family was blamed for it all. And I think she's another one who has a chip on her shoulder because of what happened to her father. She also was an oil executive under Hugo Chavez and knows all about the oil. And I would encourage people to go listen to the shows I've done over the past week, where I've evolved the theory that this has nothing. something that has nothing to do with all the other stuff people talk about, oil, election integrity, whatever. But removing Maduro basically is going to open up the floodgates for the central banking system to be just brought to its knees because of a guy who was arrested in 2018 that was by the DOJ in Miami, who was laundering and embezzling all the money that was being stolen out of Venezuela and led to the asset seizure of monies that belonged to a number of Swiss banks, Credit Suisse being one of them, and then led to the bankruptcy of Credit Suisse in 2023. So that's what I think that is really happening. I think this is the banking system being brought to its knees now that the sanctions can be lifted because the bad guy's gone. Maduro, the big baddie, Maduro's gone. And by the way, they just announced in London that the whole financial system might crash because
aliens.
Disclosure of aliens is coming. Yeah, that's the reason the financial system is going to crash. It's not because the sanctions being lifted on Venezuela are going to ultimately expose the fact that the cartels that traffic children and drugs and guns are literally the banking institutions, the financial institutions that run the world. They're literally the same thing. It's not that. That's not the reason that they're going to crash, among other like financial crises that have been unfolding for years. It's because of aliens. Yeah. Retarded
aliens. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the overlay. We've got the Dr. Terabamagachi, whatever his name was. All right. You got more on because we got a story here on Ecuador that kind of sounds like it's setting up perhaps a little bit of a part 2 of the cartels.
We could go to Ecuador if you want. The Board of Peace is really the big story that I have, but let's go to Ecuador first. That probably makes sense.
Yeah, since we're on that kind of region right there, we'll jump into this story from the AP. Human heads found hanging on a beach in southwestern Ecuador. 5 human heads were found hanging from ropes on a beach. Next to the heads was a warning sign directed at alleged extortionists of fishermen in the small fishing port of Puerto Lopez. Drug trafficking networks with links to transnational cartels are active in the area and have used fishermen and their small boats for their illicit activities. Sounds like they need some Hellfire missiles. A massacre 2 weeks ago left 6 people dead, and a second armed attack 3 days later left the same number dead in Manta, which is also in the Manabi province. Ecuador has been engulfed in a wave of violence for more than 4 years after becoming a logistical center for the storage and distribution of drugs that enter mainly through the northern border with Colombia and the southern border with Peru. 2025 was Ecuador's most violent year on record with more than 9,000 homicides. Now, those last 2 paragraphs, Gordon, are cookie cutter from the other article I read about this morning, CBS News, which basically said the same exact thing, that Ecuador is a major drug hub and the cartels have a presence there, and all this, the violence and everything else. It's just like begging, like, send somebody in here, do something about this. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out.
Well, share my screen. How long did you say this has been happening? 4 years? I haven't gone down the Ecuador rabbit hole yet, but it sounds like that might be my next rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. So 4 years. So that would be what, 2022? Is that what we're saying?
2021.
Okay, so 2021, 2022. So 2022 is when Gustavo Petro comes into power in Colombia and immediately goes to war with the cartels, right? And my theory is that conflict is what drove the cartel guys north, like out of Panama and into the United States. That's my theory, is that it was actually Gustavo Petro going after them violently, bombing them with military campaigns and arresting them is what drove them out of South America, Central America, and into the United States. But if you look at where Ecuador is, I mean, if they're in the Colombian jungles doing the cocaine operations, and then all of a sudden they're getting arrested and bombed and attacked by the Colombian military, where do they go? Right? Well, they go south into Ecuador. So that tracks, actually, and that could be an explanation. Now, the idea that the deep state's trying to use this as an opportunity to gin up another regime change operation, maybe. I don't know anything really about the Ecuadorian government. I need to look into their leadership and all that, but that narrative makes sense, that the cartels would have been driven out of Colombia and into Ecuador. So we'll see.
All right. Before we jump into the Gaza deal there, Let's go ahead and get a word from one of our sponsors here right quick. Guys, what if your only resolution this year was to get better sleep? Just imagine how much more energy you'd have. You'd handle stress better. Pretty much all your goals would be easier, right? That's why the smart way to start 2026 is with CBD from CB Distillery. Get this, over 90% of CBD customers say they sleep better with CBD. That's tough to beat. And when you sleep better, everything feels easier. And CB Distillery has options for more than just sleep. They've got solutions for stress relief, mood, and pain after workouts. You can shop by benefit, so it's easy to find exactly what you're looking for. We take all sorts of CBD in this household, the tinctures, the pet tinctures, the gummies, the ohm gummies, all of it. It's good stuff. Everything from CB Distillery is premium quality, third-party tested, and free of artificial dyes or fillers. And they have over 2 million happy customers and a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're ready to start the new year off right, go to cbdistillery.com and use promo code Badlands for 25% off. Again, that's cbdistillery.com, promo code Badlands. cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Gaza plan. It's all yours.
Yeah, and the headline that I forgot to share with the NATO thing, and it's not really anything to discuss, it's just a headline, is this one, France's exit from NATO debate. So this populist leftist politician, this woman, just introduced a resolution for France to exit the integrated military command structure of NATO, which, so I don't think it's passed yet, like through their legislature, but that's what they're discussing. This wouldn't be unprecedented. Charles de Gaulle did this in the 1960s, and for like 40 some years, France wasn't part of the military command of NATO. They reintegrated back in 2009, right before they went into Libya and overthrew Gaddafi and killed him. But yeah, so now they're talking about leaving NATO. They wouldn't be leaving NATO, they'd just be leaving the command structure. But that is a big step towards leaving NATO, which is what leaving NATO. And the reason she's arguing they should do that is because NATO undermines the individual national sovereignty of all European nations. That's a discussion that's now happening across Europe. So that's the pincer move that Trump is putting Europe in. Now, if we go to the board of peace. So Trump wants to hold a board of peace signing ceremony in Davos. We have our boy Barack Ravid putting out the invite on X. This is what went viral yesterday. Trump's board of peace charter signing ceremony Thursday, 10:30 a.m. in Davos. Trump demands, he's like, hey, we are creating world peace. We're creating peace in the Middle East. And I want to do a signing ceremony since we're all going to be together anyway in Davos. Like, I want to have a signing ceremony, right? And now this headline over here is saying participants may be limited. It says only a handful of the dozens of countries invited have announced that their head of state has accepted the offer to join the panel amid discomfort with apparent U.S. plan to use the body to usurp the United Nations. Because what Trump has done is he's invited 60 countries to join this board of peace. He's basically just invited everyone, right? All the countries that kind of matter in the geopolitical playground. He's invited them to join. And now the UN chills are all saying, well, wait a minute. This is like Trump trying to create his own UN. Like, we don't think we actually like this. We actually think this is a terrible thing. We should really approach this with total trepidation, because this is like a Trump's United Nations happening at Davos, guys. So think about that. He's using Davos to basically host his own United Nations where he gets to pick all the board members. And he's telling them openly, if you want to be a permanent member of this board, you have to give me $1 billion. Otherwise, it's a 3-year term and then you're gone.
It's a mutiny.
What's that?
It's a mutiny.
Yeah, it's total mutiny. He's delegitimizing the United Nations, which is fantastic. Because he's basically stepping out of their paradigm and creating his own paradigm, which is this board of peace. Now, like the big announcement, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, that really went viral, of the first person who was like invited to join was Putin. Like, that was the big announcement. And then Kirill Dmitriev, of course, right here, Kirill Dmitriev puts out this post, which all but confirms that Putin's joining. I mean, he says, just in, Russia confirms that President Trump asked Russian President Putin to join the Gaza board of peace. So it's obvious that Putin's joining and that they're going to be friends. And at first, it looked like Netanyahu was the odd man odd man out looking in. That's actually what Jerusalem Post was writing about. The headline was that all this is moving forward without Netanyahu. All this is moving forward without Israel because Netanyahu failed to engage and failed to be a part of it. Right. We learned late last night or late yesterday that they are invited. That Netanyahu did get the invite. He's just playing that kind of close to the chest because we have. So here's the headline: Netanyahu invited to Trump's Gaza border peace alongside European and Middle East leaders. And the two big reasons that there's trepidation here is number one. So here's the headline: World leaders show caution on Trump's broader border peace amid fears for UN. And they got their panties in a bunch over that. And so here's yesterday, the prime minister, that would be Netanyahu, calls Rubio, this is from Times of Israel, calls Rubio to express dismay at the inclusion of Qatar, Turkey on key Gaza panel. And yeah, so Turkey and Qatar are going to be at the very center of this whole border peace. Erdogan has already accepted his invitation to join. Trump has made it clear he wants them at the very center of the whole thing. He wants Turkish troops on the ground in Gaza. Something that Netanyahu has said as recently as a few days ago, it will never happen. That's never going to be allowed to happen. And now we have. So not only do you have the Qatar Turkey thing, which has always been a turd in the punch bowl for the Israelis, especially the radical ones, like the one on screen right here. But now you have Smotrich, that demon Smotrich, who I've been talking about for years now. He says he calls for to shutter the U.S.-led Gaza Coordination Center and resettle the Strip. So there's a video of it online. I mean, he's speaking Hebrew, so it's not really worth watching. But the quote says Washington established the Civil Military Coordination Center, CMCC, last October as a center for civilian and military personnel from other countries to work alongside U.S. and Israeli officials on post-war Gaza plan. Quote, the time has come to dismantle the headquarters in Kiryat Gat, said Smotrich, the chair of the far-right Religious Zionism Party, in remarks shared by his office to media, referring to the southern Israeli city where the center is based. By dismantling the headquarters, Israel will be able to remove representatives stationed there from, quote, countries like Egypt and Britain that are hostile to Israel and undermine its security. It will instead be able to do what is best for the Jewish state. Smotrich said he declined to explain why he had singled out the United Kingdom for criticism. The Prime Minister's office, the U.S. State Department, and the U.S. military's Central Command did not immediately respond to requests for comments on the remarks, nor did the British and Egyptian foreign ministries. So, again, interesting that, we get the news about Diego Garcia and Britain handing that back over. Now we get this rhetoric from Smotrich that he's singling out Britain. Remember, when they created the state of Israel in 1947 with the partition of Palestine, it was British mandate Palestine. So Palestine was basically a British colony. It was a British protectorate. And then Britain, maintaining a promise that was made by Lord Arthur Balfour in 1917 to Walter Rothschild, who at the time was Baron Rothschild, the head of the Rothschild dynasty. He promised him that they would do this for them, that they would create the state of Israel. And so they did it in 1947 from Palestine, which puts Britain at the very heart of the creation of Israel. They're like their most historic ally. I mean, you could say the United States because we've been right there at front row, but Britain is really what created Israel. Egypt was the first Arab nation to normalize relations with Israel back in 1980. So the fact that Egypt and Britain are now being targeted as enemies of Israel is interesting, because Egypt was the only Arab nation that was really doing anything with Israel aside from Jordan, which doesn't quite count with all due respect to them. But Egypt was really like the Arab nation, the strong Arab nation that was partners to some extent with Israel, and now they're being targeted as the bad guy by Smotrich. This is going to put Netanyahu in a terrible position because he wants to join the board, but he's going to get a lot of flack from it from the radicals in his cabinet. Smotrich, who's threatened to leave the government more times than we can count. He's not going to, because this is the only chance they have to ever run the government. But I think what probably will end up happening is Netanyahu will convince Smotrich that it's in the best interest of all of them it's better to be at the table, sitting at the head of the table, in the eyes of the Israelis, than to be outside the building, like peering in the window to try to figure out what they're doing, right? He's like, it's better for us to be in the room because then we can control the outcome than to not be in the room at all. So I think Netanyahu will join the board. However, I think we might see a situation where these settlers, these ultra-Orthodox radical settlers who have been lighting fires all across Palestine for months now, and even like Trump and Rubio have been saying this is a problem, this needs to stop immediately. I wonder if we're going to see like the Israeli settlers surround this command center, which is full of military personnel and civilian personnel, and like do riots and like attack it. This is the moment, potentially, like the stage is being set for a moment where a sovereign alliance coalition with sovereign alliance soldiers, led symbolically by Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, are standing between Gaza and Netanyahu / the World Economic Forum, because Trump is clearly setting up right now the World Economic Forum on one side and him and his friends, the Sovereign Alliance, on the other side. And while Netanyahu in the World Economic Forum may not ostensibly be fully lockstep, they most certainly are in like their greater vision for a one world government. And I think that moment of Putin stepping in with Trump and together them taking on Netanyahu and his coalition of crazies is coming sooner than we think.
All right. Yeah, we briefly covered the Netanyahu story yesterday, but not nearly as in depth as you did and with your analysis on that. So appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and we'll jump back into some national stuff here. But before we do that, guys, you ever had one of those moments where an F-bomb is absolutely justified, like I did earlier, but I didn't, I withheld, but you don't feel like blowing up your entire life today? Yeah, that's the moment. And that is why this exists. It's called an F-bomb jar. You drop one silently, no yelling, no consequences, all the impact with none of the fallout. Deploy responsibly or don't. We won't judge. You'll see it on screen. Scan the QR code or click the link below and use promo code RUMBLE10 for 10% off your entire order at thingsofholding.com. All right. Got to drop them F-bombs every once in a while. And then, folks, are you guys worrying about those upcoming credit card bills after the holidays? If you're a homeowner, there's no better time than now to call American Financing and wipe out that debt. Eliminate the stress and set yourself up for a strong 2026. The Fed dropped rates for the 4th time this past December. American Financing can help you access that equity in your home at an interest rate in the low 5s. You heard that right, in the low 5s. That is much lower rate than the average 20% or more credit card rate. American Financing is saving their customers an average of $800 per month. That's like a $10,000 raise to start off the new year. There's no upfront fees, no obligation to see how much you can save, and they're closing some in as fast as 10 days and even delaying 2 mortgage payments. American Financing, Colorado's home for home loans. Call 866-889-8121. Again, that's 866-889-8121 or AmericanFinancing.net/Badlands. Disclaimer: NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5s start at 6.196%. For well-qualified buyers, call 866-889-8121 or for details about credit costs and terms, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Badlands. All right, let's dive into some of the local stuff, and got an update for you guys on Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. After the appellate hearing yesterday, there was a statement put out by her official X account on X saying that she had been assaulted in prison and retaliated in the assaults, defended herself, and was put in solitary confinement and told that she was going to be charged with felony assault. Now, to clarify some things there, the La Vista prison came out and said that there is no there is no solitary confinement in their prison. And so she was just put on lockdown in a different wing of the prison. She was moved because the inmate that she got in the scuffle with was in the same area. The other thing that that came out is they released a video, and it's a little bit concerning. So I'll play this video here and just do a quick little analysis of it. You see Tina Peters up here pushing this thing into a closet. It's a big, I guess it's like a water. I don't know if it's like a heater that uses water. We used to have those in Afghanistan for cooling, but so you see her here pushing it in. And by the way, I don't know what the hell is going on that they censored down here in the foreground, but that looks sketch. So you see this woman come over here right there. She's got, looks like a water bottle and a rag in her hand. And she goes to grab the water cooler. She reaches in here. That's when Tina Peters claims that she was assaulted. And then it looks like she's trying to push the thing out of the way. And then as soon as it's clear, Clerk Peters grabs her and pushes her back, grabs her hand that reached into that room, and they let each other go. They go about their business. And, I don't know what is going on with this. If they do try and charge her with felony assault for that, it's absolutely ridiculous. Felony assault in Colorado requires severe bodily injury with a deadly weapon. So I don't really know what's going on with that. Just wanted to clear the air on that statement that was put out yesterday, because the video's telling a slightly different story, but she needs to be let go. And this is probably part of the campaign to get that in front of these judges and to garner up support for releasing her after that appellate hearing last week. There's no question that she should be released. But once again, just check out these people. What are they doing down here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not unusual that people who are irrelevant to the story that's being reported are being blurred out, right? But yeah, I mean, what are they doing? I have no idea.
I mean, nobody else is blurred out. This woman here is not blurred out. The man that comes in shower shoes and sandals, he's not blurred out.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, technically they're engaging with them, right? So they're kind of part of the story, but I don't know. I have no idea. It's a very bizarre just turn of events, and certainly sketchy. And yeah, I mean, we just need transparency and sunlight, because that's it's this a very strange plot twist at a very opportune moment for certain interested parties.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind, like, Tina Peters is a nonviolent 70-year-old offender in a medium security prison where you have, violent offenders. And, I've never been to prison, but I've seen enough movies to know that when you're in prison, and heard enough stories and interviewed enough J6ers to know that when you're in prison, you got to watch your back. And if somebody comes into a space like a closet and you're confined and you're 70 and they come into that closet and they're not invited in there, they don't have any business in there, and they reach into there, and who knows if she grabbed Tina Peters, who knows if she sprays her with that bottle, and if it's a chemical, who knows? But, clearly when you see Tina Peters come out, she's not only got her by the neck, she's also got that arm that reached in there as if she grabbed it to stop whatever she was trying to do. So it looks like you could go either way with this story. She was trying to help her push the thing and trying to turn it around, or she was moving the thing out of the way to get at Tina Peters. But either way, I don't think this is going to really lead to, and I'm with you, Gizmo's mom, in terms of what the censored people are doing. I'll just leave that at that. I'm not going full blown on that she's going to be charged with felony assault, but it looks like they're trying to play both sides of the story here and make her look like a bad person, while at the same time drawing attention to the fact that she should not still be in prison. So both sides, I'm saying, conflicting sides of the story.
Yeah. I mean, the felony assault seems insane, considering that there's reasonable doubt to against the asserted charge, the alleged charge, and then of course there's no actual significant there's no bodily damage, like bodily injury. If the woman was like fell as a result and knocked her head and was knocked unconscious or died or whatever, or was like in a coma, it's like, okay, well now it's complicated, right? But I mean, they both walked away afterwards, so.
Yeah, even third degree even third degree assault in Colorado, which is a misdemeanor, still requires bodily injury, and it also requires a deadly weapon. And again, Tina Peters had none of that. She's 70 years old. The person that was in the video with her is alleged to be 20 years old. So when I was 20 years old, I don't think there was a single 70-year-old that I was worried about, except maybe Chuck Norris. I wouldn't want to fight Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal, even though he's fat and overweight now. I wouldn't want to fight him either when I was 20. So, but outside of those guys, I don't think I'm too worried about it. This story has been just ramping up in the headlines. We played this yesterday. It was breaking at the time. Have you seen this story, Gordon? This church story?
Oh, is this the one where where like Don Lemon, Don Lemon or whatever? Like, yeah, I mean, I heard about it. Y'all were talking about it in the Badlands chat, but I haven't really bothered to go look at it because it seems like a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, so this guy's kind of digging himself a hole, and good luck in prison, dude. Check this out.
People who are wearing the uniform now, you think they're patriots?
I don't think so, especially those ICE agents.
That's what I'm
hell
talking
no.
about. Yeah. Well,
No, they're terrorists. They're traitors.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Today we had the honor to protest with Nikema Armstrong and the Racial Justice Network. Just like Jesus did, we went into that church and we flipped tables peacefully. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Easy life, don't you? He wears a suit and tie and he hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to.
All right, so that's enough of that guy.
Who is that clown?
I don't know, but he doubles down big time. And I'm going to give you guys a language warning on this one, but he doubles down after it comes out that this guy's going to be facing some federal charges. Again, language warning. So if you have sensitive ears, cover them up.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nikema Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. The pastor of the church is a fucking ICE leader in the city. How can you be a fucking pastor and be a fucking ICE agent? Fuck them. They want to come after me? Fuck them. How can they live so comfortably while the fucking people from Somalia that are in this country legally, that have fucking citizenship, can't even go to their mosque and pray? How do they deserve any fucking different? Fuck those fucking Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you fucking traitorous bitch. All power to the people.
That's not going to play out too well for you. Alina Habba put this out on X, reshared the video and said, if this is real, noted with a hammer. So hammer's coming down, it looks like. Attorney General Pam Bondi on X said, I just spoke with the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this DOJ will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. And then another update in the story here from Alpha News, which has done pretty good work covering all these protests out in Minnesota. St. Paul school board member among anti-ICE activists who stormed the church. Federal authorities said they will pursue charges potentially under the Federal FACE Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act. That one is being flipped on them. That's been used against so many J6ers. That was one of the laws that was used, that was cited against Ash when they went to trial. So now it's being flipped on them. Jump down here. It says Nikema Levy Armstrong, a prominent activist, said in a Facebook post that she co-organized the disruption along with Chantil Allen, a St. Paul public school board member. Videos show Allen leading chants inside of the church. Allen has served on the school board since January 2020 and is also a founder of Black Lives Matter Twin Cities. And poor thing, man, that's just tragic right there. If you look at that photo there. So I got another clip of Alina Habba going a little more in depth with the charges, but you know, I don't know if you saw the Don Lemon clip.
I didn't.
So he literally is out front of the, you know, with the group as they're conspiring to commit this protest or riot in violation of the FACE Act. The FACE Act is the federal access or free access to clinic entrances, which sounds medical, but there's also the stipulation in the FACE Act that it also includes religious services, so places of worship as well. So there is going to be federal charges brought against them. I would assume there has to be, especially to the degree. But what I think Lemon, I keep saying Lemon because I make fun of him with that. Lemon is going to have some issues because he's on video live streaming as he's saying that, he's aware of what's going to happen. It's clandestine. He's not going to say too much. And then he even escalates it and says, well, you might say this crowd is predominantly white, and that's for a reason, because we want to deceive these people into thinking that it's MAGA coming into the church at first, so they welcome them. And then, it's absolutely absurd. He panicked afterwards and started basically crying about how MAGA's blowing this up and it's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, F that, man.
Yes, I mean, there's a few things to unpack here because I'm responding to a lot of this like in real time. I mean, I haven't really dedicated any bandwidth to like understanding the situation.
Here, before you respond, let me just play this video because this kind of lays it all out. This video lays it all out because some people might have missed yesterday's show as well.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism. They're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason, it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay. Thank you guys for allowing me to be here. Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
To see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community, and we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there. And then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now.
So this woman's a civil rights attorney. So she should know absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt that she's violating the FACE Act and she is infringing on the First Amendment rights of every single person in that church right there that she did this to. I hope they throw the book at her.
First thing you have to understand, citing that you're an attorney as if that is some sort of like validating credential, like, oh, okay, well, it's an attorney, so they're not a criminal, they're an attorney. Prior to the CIA being created, intelligence operations were run by private organizations, by corporations, right? And all intelligence gathering services were run by law firms. They would contract law firms. The people who created the CIA, the Dulles brothers, lifelong lawyers, okay? Like lawyers were the people who served as the first CIA agents. And the CIA is a civilian organization. It's not a military organization. It's a civilian organization. And the reason that you get lawyers to be intelligence assets or intelligence agents is because they know the law. They know where the line is. They know exactly how to navigate moments. They can make real-time decisions on what I should do. When should I get up and walk away from this? Because I can plead ignorance and plausible deniability and all that. That's why lawyers make fantastic intelligence agents and assets. So her saying that is not like a qualifying credential at all. If anything, it actually validates what I'm about to say even more. This is clearly what we're watching unfold across the country, specifically in that part of the country, is clearly a color revolution, an attempt at strategy of tension, an attempt at destabilizing the United States. This is a regime change, a long play, regime change, long play. But really, before you get to regime change, it's about starting a civil war.
Yes.
We just watched this play out in Iran, right? This is exactly what was happening in Iran, where you have agitators going in, stirring up trouble, creating optics of violence and dissent and discontent and all that. and then you film it from certain angles. You put a narrative to the video, and you can make it look like however you want. You can make it look like the government is cracking down on the people. You can make it look like the government's the bad guys. Like whatever it is you want to make it look like, you can do it with the right camera angles and the right narrative. That's what we're watching right now, and that's what this all is. Now, a church is private property. A church is not public space. You may have already talked about that before on the show, but that is the letter of the law. Even though people view churches as public and they view it as, public forums and all that, it's not. They are all privately owned. They have tax exempt statuses. So they don't have to pay property tax. That doesn't mean they're public spaces. They're privately owned entities, organizations. Walking into a church, any private property without their permission and doing anything without their permission is against the law. But if you're going in there to agitate and to disrupt the normal course of business, whatever, to agitate people, to make people feel uncomfortable, intimidate them, you're racking up crimes. Crime. Those are all crimes. So this is very simple. It's very straightforward. It's very clear they're trying to start a civil war. They might even, I think I heard Chris say that he thinks they're trying to start, they want Trump to initiate the
Insurrection Act.
I actually think that might be true too. They want the escalation, because then they can use that to get more people out, to get more people posting online, to get more people energized and activated. Look at Trump. He's the tyrant. He's the MAGA king is coming after the plebeians. That is clearly what I think is going on here. As far as that first guy with the beard, his comments, he seems like an intelligence asset for sure. I mean, what a television character he is. When he talks about these church leaders being like rich and comfortable and all that stuff, there actually is probably something that should be looked into there, because I wouldn't totally dismiss the allegation that church leadership, and I'm not suggesting that guy in the video or that church, like this applies to them, but I'm just saying, look at Pat Robertson.
Yep.
Like when televangelists are becoming billionaires and they're building platforms based around a religion, and they're doing and they are like reaching the highest levels of like social influence prior to social media. I'm talking about the 70s, the 60s. That should send off an alarm bell that you're looking at an intelligence asset. And to that point, we actually have a video from the World Economic Forum that's now relevant. Let's play this real quick. This is Yuval Harari at the World Economic Forum. Let's listen to him.
Do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books. If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion. This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism, not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that. What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI?
Yeah. So what he's basically talking about is he's getting at, and as the post in there, Shad of Ezra explains, he's talking about the merging of all three religions into one religion, and AI basically being the pope of this new religion, right? Because it knows everything at all times. It can basically take in all of the opinions of all these religious leaders and integrate it and digest it all at once and analyze it in seconds. This is called ecumenicalism. It is literally predicted in the book of Revelations as like the end of days is that you will see all the religions merge into one religion. And then the devil will become the leader of the religion. The Antichrist will become the leader of the religion. Ash and I have talked about this on our show with Eric Rice, who said that he asserts that's exactly what we're going to see happen. And now you have Yuval Harari talking about it. So yeah, religious leaders, we need to be aware of how they will be used, weaponized against us to lead us into, the slaughterhouse. So, that point, I think we should be talking about, but everything else about that situation just seems like a color revolution, civil unrest, civil war, etc.
Yeah, let's jump into this clip here. So this is Jennifer Welch on her podcast. She's the one that had a clip the other day saying that, we need to arrest all these Trump people when we take back power. This is Don Lemon doubling down on the racial aspect to what he did. And I think that this is going to be escalated as a hate crime.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
Yeah. So again, adding a racial component to this, his producer should have told him, lawyer up and shut the F up about this. Don't talk about this anymore. You are in a lot of trouble. This is Harmeet Dillon on Benny Johnson, but talking about the charges that he's going to face.
In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So
now keep that in mind, the protests, because I'm going to show you guys the Mark Howe clips in a second here.
there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred? Was there a use of the wires or the mails in preparing for this event? Did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential predicates for additional federal charges.
I've just pulled up the Klan Act because this is the first time that I've heard this mentioned. This is an act that was passed in 1871, correction there, to combat the Ku Klux Klan and protect African Americans' voting rights, especially the Enforcement Act, which is known as the Force Act. So here's some of the information on screen. Would you mind breaking down for us, because we have just read the FACE Act and how this is in.
Okay, so we can kind of leave that there. It's shocking to me that Benny Johnson is just now finding out about the KKK Act when it's been used against so many of us over the last 5 years under the Biden administration. And you're just now I wasn't aware of the KKK Act. How are you not aware?
He's an
of
idiot. He's a stooge. He's a jester, you know? Yeah. Anyway. Continue.
Well, so I was just going to show you guys, this is the Mark Houck story. And this is the guy, if you look up here in the top left, the guy on the top is Mark Houck. The guy in the yellow here, he allegedly is, shouting sexual slurs at Houck's 12-year-old son who's there with him. And he pushes him to get him away from the son. He's not violating the FACE Act. He's not blocking any clinic entrances. He is protesting, which is perfectly allowed on a sidewalk. And this was the result of what he did. He had the FBI show up with full battle rattle TAC teams, 6 or 7 cars, riot shields and all that stuff in order to arrest him. And this was after. So you're seeing a lot of the stuff that, and I'm being a little bit critical here, but at the same time, I understand this is a complicated thing. Like Harmeet was explaining there, there's a lot of steps they have to go through to figure out what other extenuating circumstances there were to this crime, who's funding it, those kinds of things. But at the same time, the Houck story, the locals, they do say, we got to give it to Ellison, the attorney general in Minnesota. We got to give it to him first. We got to give it to Minnesota first, local prosecutors, to see if they're going to do anything about this. Well, they didn't do anything about Mark Houck, and the FBI was on him like flies on shit, like almost instantly, deciding to bring charges against him. So hopefully we see movement on this and they shut this shit down, because, I'm all for protesting, but this kind of stuff can't happen. You can't be getting into churches, because I'll tell you right now, and this ties into they want this type of reaction. At some point, there's pictures now of fathers comforting their young children that are crying because they don't know what the hell's going on. They go to church every Sunday and it's peaceful and they pray and, they worship Jesus. And then all of a sudden you've got these people coming in here just shouting obscenities and screaming and threatening people and all that. And it's only a matter of time before, somebody either gets their ass whooped or gets shot. And that's
that's the shatter point. That's the powder keg moment that they're waiting for, right? Because then you get the George Floyd 2.0, and then you get the color revolution, which is why it's so important for us to be talking about this and discussing it in depth, and not just looking at it from a one-dimensional standpoint, which is like the narrative that we're being fed about what this is, because the danger here is getting too much behind the idea that we need to overreact to this and throw all of our support behind the state coming in hard and cracking down and and going after this, because obviously this is, I think, the state coming in, infiltrating the riots, the protesters, and using it to ignite a civil war, basically. They're trying to destabilize society. But we also have to understand that they're leveraging emotional blackmail. They're talking about, the wrong kind of Christians, bad Christians, right? Christian tolerance, all that crap. You need to take all those ideas and throw them out. When anytime somebody starts talking about using your Christianity, your Christian faith against you because you're not being nice enough, or you're not tolerating people, take those arguments and just throw them in the garbage can, because those people are blackmailing you emotionally, and they are working for Satan. We need to talk about, I don't know if you were planning on talking about this, but we need to talk about the situation in Miami, as well as the situation in Texas, with these sheriffs going to people's houses about stuff they're posting online.
I have that. Yeah. Let me see. Hold on. I have that saved here. Let me pull that up. I was going to talk about that tomorrow because I didn't know if we'd have time for it.
I think these two things are much closer connected than probably people realize.
Yeah, let me pull this video up
because religion is at the heart of both of them.
Yep.
Oh. And so remember, when I started on Badlands Daily almost 3 years ago, or wait, whatever it was, 2.5 years ago, fall of 2023, I brought to your attention the fact that Glenn Youngkin was the very first Republican governor to adopt the IRHA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism as hate speech, and that this would be used as a Trojan horse to monitor online activity and basically do what they're doing in Europe and Britain right now.
And let me just, I say this every time we kind of deal with a story similar to this, and a lot of it took place under the Biden administration. If you have somebody approach your door and start asking you questions and they don't have a warrant, and even if they do have a warrant, do not talk to them. Do not say a word to them.
Yeah.
You just tell them to leave your card and call your attorney, and that is it. Don't even say hello. Never, ever invite them in. Do not do any of this stuff. So check this out.
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
You don't do this. If they show you something, be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I no comment. No comment. No comment. Plead the fifth. Whatever you want to say. Do never engage with them when they're interrogating you like this.
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present.
Amen.
So I really don't know how to answer that question either
well,
way.
like I said, you're not
This
going
is
to jail.
freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And
Veteran.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
We're just trying to see if it's you, because we're not talking to the right person. We want to go see who the right person
Okay,
is.
how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
So you don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians. that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get your side. If it was you that posted that, I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that can get something.
Fuck you.
I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay.
That's it.
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether or not that's right. I hope that's understandable.
All right, we appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
Day, okay?
You as well. Thank you. Take care.
That guy, and so she handled that almost perfectly. The guy never should have been in her house. Never.
Yeah. Understand something. I want everyone to listen to me. Forget about every other character we talk about in the world. Forget about every, like Netanyahu, Klaus Schwab, all of them. That right there is the enemy. That right there is the thing on the ground. And I don't mean that specific sheriff. I just mean what he represents. I mean, he himself should be kicked out of law enforcement and never allowed to work in law enforcement for the rest of his life. He should be flipping hamburgers for the rest of his life. What just happened right there is the clearest cut violation of the First Amendment we probably ever have on camera. I mean, you're sitting there saying, you might talking about incitement, talking about because you posted something online, which what she said online is not at all controversial. I mean, people have said way more controversial stuff than that. It's all protected speech, by the way. You are not responsible for what somebody else does because they read your words. If they read your words and they got angry and upset and then they went and did something stupid, you are not responsible for that. That is not how that works. That's not how incitement laws work. Okay. And they're going to try to leverage that to crack down on the First Amendment. And the fact that this is all being done about Israel is not a coincidence, because if you will share my screen, here is a post from Randy Fine, right? The congressman from April 2023, made a secret trip to Jerusalem with Representative Mike Caruso to deliver Governor Ron DeSantis HB 269, the strongest anti-Semitism bill in the United States, to Florida's Nazi thugs. I have news: attack Jews on their property and you're going to prison. Never again means never again. Now, what Ron DeSantis is signing right there is he's signing the exact same law that I mentioned before that Glenn Youngkin did in 2022, a year before this, that adopts the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's, they're an NGO, their definition of anti-Semitism, which also includes criticism of Israel, of the Israeli government. He flew to Jerusalem. This is the governor of Florida, flies to Jerusalem to sign a state law for Florida. And I went and I asked ChatGPT, how many states have a law like this? 37. How many of those states had a Republican governor when that law was signed?
37.
26. How many states had a Republican governor and both houses of their legislature controlled by the Republican Party when that law was implemented? 23. Meaning a trifecta. So all three are the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the governorship, all controlled by the Republican Party, and 23 out of the 37 states that have implemented this measure. Okay. And then this guy right here, this sheriff, is being deployed by the mayor of Miami, who is Jewish, because saying you might be inciting violence against this mayor because of something you're saying, and that ultimately is about a geopolitical event, a foreign, a conflict in a foreign land. And he's saying you should think twice about posting something like that. And by the way, we have another video right here of a similar event just happening in Texas.
That was a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's like a couple months ago, and we're here because of comments you made online about Israel. That's Texas.
Play it.
We're here because of the comments you made online about the Jewish community.
Turn it up.
So what?
No, I'm saying, are you?
I have a freedom of speech, dude.
Yeah, no, we get that. I get that.
We gotta make sure that you're not. Do you have a warrant?
No, that's why we're
Okay,
here.
you see that sign? Yeah. So that says no soliciting. What you're doing is basically soliciting. You understand that, right? Yeah. It means you're not welcomed here. Okay. Bye.
A+.
That is an A+.
All three of them should never again work in law enforcement. Strip away their right to ever again work. They shouldn't even be allowed to be the janitor at the police station.
Agreed. Where's Alyssa Slotkin on that one? Hey, you guys don't have to obey unlawful orders. And interrogating somebody over their First Amendment right to free speech is an unlawful order. Where you at? Slotkin, Kelly, all those Granted, it's Republicans that are doing this. It is Republicans that are doing this.
Yep.
You know.
So 2.5 years ago, when I brought this to everyone's attention, and I said, "Hey guys, they're going to use it as a Trojan horse to come after you. It's going to be about a bigger thing. It's not just going to be about Israel. It's going to be about a bigger thing. It's going to be about what you say online and holding you accountable for what you say online, because hurts people's feelings, leads to incitement, escalates violence, all that nonsense. That's the enemy. That's the tyranny coming for you in your home and stopping you from engaging in the sovereign mind and exercising your basic human rights. And it is the Republican Party. The Republican Party is the one that is coming for you. The Democrat Party is out there ginning up support. They're out there being the villain. They're out there being the stalking horse. They're out there being the bad guy, so that attacking churches, so that you then come in and say, yes, the state needs to come in and crack down on these guys because they are going after churches. I'm a Christian. This scares me. And the state should be protecting the church against these bad actors. Of course, anytime somebody goes and does violence, they should be held accountable, whether it's against a church or a pizza parlor. But it's the emotional blackmail of it being religion that you then are going to support new measures, which we don't need because all this stuff is already codified in the law, new measures that escalate things when a religion's involved. And then they're going to apply that for geopolitical discussions because we have a ethno-state in the Middle East that is exclusively Jewish. So that is and so then when you go to criticize a foreign government, well, wait a minute, are you trying to escalate violence against the Jewish community? And then eventually it leads to criticizing Jewish members of Congress. Are you trying to escalate violence against a member of Congress? This is how it all starts. And then the slippery slope, you're down in tyranny before you even know it. This is why we have to be locked shields, phalanx formation against the Republican Party. The Republican Party is the ring from the Lord of the Rings. Some of you think that we can take the weapon of the enemy and use it against the enemy. You would be wrong. There is no using the weapon of the enemy against the enemy. It is the enemy, and it has to be thrown into the volcano.
All right. So I got another story that's kind of along those lines. But before we do that, real quick, I want to check out another sponsor. Guys, if you or someone you love struggles with blood sugar and A1C, you need to hear this. It's well known. The expensive meds and the popular shots have dangerous side effects. Well, Creator's Bounty has developed the perfect alternative. It's an herbal supplement called Elohetrium. Elohetrium is a 100% natural formula proven to dramatically lower your blood sugar and A1C. It uses seven healthy ingredients, no stimulants, no junk. These 7 ingredients would cost you over $150 if you bought them all separately. But here's the best part. There's no bad side effects, only good ones. We're talking sugar cravings gone, inflammation reduced, and stable energy all day with 0 crashes. Seriously, most people are getting better results than they did on the harsh meds and without the risk. Elohetrium is made in the United States at an FDA-registered facility, fully tested and backed by a no-questions-asked 90-day money-back guarantee. The friendly folks at Creator's Bounty offer fast and free shipping 5 days a week from Oklahoma. Head on over to creatorsbounty.com/rumble and take advantage of this special offer today. I just sent that Elohetrium. I sent it to a family member that I found out is now taking GLP-1s. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. And sent them that link right there instead. So all right, let's jump into this story right here, and then we'll start to wrap up. From Fox News, Josh Shapiro claims Kamala Harris's team asked if he was a double agent for Israel. And make no mistake, this guy right here is going to be, he already is, but he is going to be either the number 1 or number 2 going into the 2020 presidential election for the Democrats. And that will be in the same lines as what Gordon was just talking about. It will be a monumental shift in that party as well. And the yin and the yang will be completely gone. In Shapiro's upcoming book, Where We Keep the Light, he described, quote, unnecessarily contentious questions from Harris's team, particularly former Biden aide Dana Remus. One question: have you ever been an agent of the Israeli government? Had I been a double agent for Israel? Was she kidding? I told her how offensive the question was, Shapiro wrote. Remus was just doing her job. I get it. But the fact that she asked or was told to ask that question by someone else said a lot about some of the people around the vice president. Whether he'd be willing to apologize for some of his comments about protesters at the University of Pennsylvania who had built Shapiro described further probing about whether he would apologize for comments around the protesters at the University of Pennsylvania to decry Israel's military campaign in Gaza. He says it nagged me that their questions weren't really about substance. Rather, they were questioning my ideology, my approach, my worldview. So just wanted to show you there that it's going to be coming on both sides here in the next presidential campaign.
Yeah. And somebody in the chat asked, do I have a list of the governors? Well, let me just rattle off a few of your favorite names who've like signed this thing into law. Kristi Noem, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Greg Abbott, Glenn Youngkin, Ron DeSantis, all of your favorite television characters who are the leaders of the Republican Party, who are like the people who are like, maybe they're going to be president after Trump. All of them are responsible for implementing these laws. And so if you think the Republican Party is your friend, you would be deeply, deeply mistaken.
Yep. All right, let's just real quick. I want to play this video because I saw this morning and this is just absolutely devastating, man. This was a 100 car pileup in Michigan in Grand Rapids. And I mean, like, dude, that is nuts. You know how dangerous that is?
Jeez.
100 cars, bro. Like, how do you even clean that up, man? How long does that take to clean this up? I mean, some of these cars, you got people in there. If somebody was
especially
injured,
in that weather, it's like, I mean, imagine having to get the equipment down there and actually do the work. I mean, that weather is going to make cleaning that up even more complicated.
and if somebody gets injured in this, you know, like they could be hours before they're rescued. They could freeze to death.
How do you like flying a helicopter? Like, yeah, to fly to the hospital. Like, yeah, I mean,
that's crazy. You see a lot of the, snowmobiles and stuff like that out there. Now, I mean, looking at the damage, it doesn't appear as bad as some of the black ice videos you see where like they're coming over a hill or around a bend and they don't know that there's like a massive pileup and you just see semi trucks that just can't stop and they're plowing through traffic at like 100, well, not 100 miles an hour, but 40, 50 miles an hour. You see videos like that all the time and it's pretty crazy. So prayers for all those people. Oh, you know what? I do want to play this video real quick. Nancy Pelosi is getting a lot of flack for this, as rightfully so. She did a little eulogy, I guess, at Bob Weir's funeral. And not only does she appear totally intoxicated, but got to make a political statement.
Bobby Weir was not just a musician, a magician too. He understood something essential about America, that our strength and our improvisation, our diversity and our willingness to learn from one another. Bobby really loved democracy. He loved our country. And you know what he wanted everybody to do?
Holding up the sign that says vote.
I mean, speaking of CIA psyops, the Grateful Dead, right? I mean, literally, like, they've written books, very mainstream books, The Electric Cold Acid Test, which in the book, they talk about a CIA agent going around the country with the merry pranksters who were the followers of the dead, handing out sheets of LSD to everybody. And it was the CIA guy, even though they knew he was CIA, was celebrated as like one of their friends because he was the guy who brought the acid.
Yeah. All right. So we'll land that there. We'll get into rants here. If you have not done so yet, please smash that thumbs up. Before we get into rants, Gordon, what do you got coming up today?
Geopolitics with Ghost at 2. We're going to talk about the Iranian situation, like the color revolution there. We're going to talk about Patagonia and the ops down there with the wildfires in Argentina and Chile. And then obviously we'll be talking about the World Economic Forum.
All right. We've got Badlands Book Club, 6 p.m. today. We'll be covering Stolen Elections by Ralph Pizzullo with Colonel Towner joining us for the remainder of the book. I think we're on chapter 5. I got to make sure, get up on that. So tune into that at 6 p.m. I actually have to go. Last night when I was at the game, I went outside because I had to get away from the crowd for a little bit. And there was a homeless guy that was out there and I started talking to him. And, I asked him, can I get you something to eat? And so I went inside. He's like, yeah, I could go for some wings, man. And I was like, all right. So I went inside. My wings had literally just gotten there. So I took my wings and brought them out and gave them to the guy. I started talking to him and I was like, look, he's in my community. He's been here, grown up here. And I'm going to buy him a bunch of stuff today. I'm going to meet up with him and give him some shoes and, all that kind of stuff. So that will be my good deed for the day. So I'm going to go take care of that. And then I'll see you guys on book club at 6 p.m. I think we did have one rant.
Somebody in the chat just mentioned this, and I can't believe we didn't mention it. Last week, the Republican Party voting to preserve the National Endowment for Democracy. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all you need to see. Like that's how you know that they're still the bad guy and will always be the bad guy.
Kitsko, 1 year down, 3 years to go. LFG, let's fucking go. Today is the 1 year anniversary of President Trump's first term or second term, third term, whatever you want to call it. And I would say 7 years to go, not 3 years to go, but we'll see.
Yeah, 7 years for sure.
See. So, all right, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out Geopolitics coming up here, as well as Badlands Book Club, and check out all our sponsors, softdisclosure.com/ promo code Badlands, cbdistillery.com, promo code Badlands, and AmericanFinancing.net/Badlands. And we'll see you guys tonight or tomorrow morning. Hopefully we see you guys tonight. It's going to be a great, the analysis from Colonel Towner on this book is fantastic. So I would highly recommend checking it out, and we'll see you guys.
Definitely will check it out. Definitely will check it out. Look forward to it.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.